Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week's parasha, Chukat, is talking about the red heifer, a supra-rational commandment that Hashem decreed to the Jewish people in order to be able to cleanse themselves, to make themselves pure again when they come in contact with a dead corpse. As it says in the Torah, God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is the statute of the Torah that God commanded, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and have them take for you a perfectly red, unblemished cow, upon which no yoke was laid, and you shall give it to Eleazar the Kohen, and he shall take it outside the camp and slaughter it in his presence. Eleazar the Kohen shall take from its blood with his finger, and sprinkle it towards the front of the tent of meeting for 7 times. The cow shall then be burned in his presence, its hide, its flesh, its blood, with its dung he shall burn it. The Kohen shall take a piece of cedar wood, hyssop and crimson wool, and cast them into the burning of the cow." And then, what did they do with the ashes of the cow? The verse continues, "Anyone touching the corpse of a human soul shall become unclean for 7 days. On the 3rd and 7th days, he shall cleanse himself with it so that he can become clean. But if he does not sprinkle himself with it on the 3rd and 7th day, he shall not become clean." So this sounds crazy. It sounds like a witch hunt. And really, it's one of those one of those supra-rational commandments. And this is the king of the supra-rational commandments that Hashem gives the Jewish people in order for them to fulfill. And if we see, the Torah is divided in 3 types of commandments, of statutes, of decrees. We have the mishpatim, which are rational commandments, like, for example, don't kill, don't steal, don't be a gossip monger, don't be a false witness, honor your father and mother. All these commandments that are under the category of mishpatim, we as a civil people, or humanitarian type of human beings, we would come up and do them by ourselves. We don't need a God to tell us not to kill. We know it's wrong. And then we come and we have the Eidot, which are commandments that are of a ritual category, like Shabbat, like Pesach, like Rosh Hashanah, all the things we do, all the traditions we keep in order to continue our traditions. And nobody questions them. Like Shabbat, yes, 2 halas in the table. Nobody questions it. Or why do we do Kiddush? Nobody questions it, because this is part of our traditions, and this is part of us being Jewish, of being who we are. So what's the thing with this, especially this commandment, the Chukat, that falls into the category of Chok, which are supra-rational commandments? It's a very obscure commandment because it's talking about purity and impurity, of being pure and being impure. And these Tuma and Tameh and Tahara, these 2 words, Tuma and Tahara, are translated usually in the English into pure and impure, but really it's not the right translation. There's no words for it in a different language that is not the Hebrew language. And what they really mean is that when a person is Tuma, and today we're all Tuma, we're all impure, and we don't keep this commandment of Paraduma, of the red heifer, because we don't have a sanctuary, we don't have a temple, so we don't have a need for it. But 2 commandments that we keep in this category are the laws of Nidah, of women when they become impure because of their cycle, and also the Kohanim. They are forbidden to enter a cemetery or be in contact with a dead person, because this creates Tumah in them, and we keep them till today. But these commandments of the Parah Adumah, these laws, they don't apply today because we don't have a temple. But the Rebbe used to say that even though they're not part of our daily life today, they certainly have a time in our daily life. They have a lesson to give us, and they have something that we have to understand about it. So there's a story of a certain Gentile that asked Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai, "These things you do seem like witchcraft. You take a bull, burn it, grind it, and take it into its ashes, and then sprinkle 2 or 3 drops of it on an impure person, and you say, you are pure. He answered, have you ever been possessed by a spirit? And the Gentile answered, no. Have you ever seen a possessed person? And he answered, yes. And what do you do when you see a possessed person? What do you do to such a person? You take some roots, smoke them beneath him, sprinkle water upon him, and the spirit departs. And so Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai replied, let your ears hear what you just said. So it is with the spirit of impurity we sprinkle upon it, and it departs. So the Gentile was content with the answer of Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai, and after he left, his students came up to him and asked him, Master, this Gentile you brushed aside with a stick with an incomplete answer, just so he'd be satisfied. But to us, what is your answer to the Gentile question? So he replied, by your lives the corpse does not defile and the waters don't purify. Rather, God said, a statute I have set, a decree I have decreed, and you are not permitted to transgress my decree. As it is written, this is the statute of the Torah. So what he's saying is that this hawk, this statute has no rational understanding. We cannot understand it with our intellect, with our intelligence, with our knowledge of Torah. Nobody can ever come and say, I understand this statute, because it's really not understandable in a human level. So the Rebbe says the Torah is always relevant and it can be applied to our lives. We are always looking for answers to our life. We always have questions, and we're expected to be people of questions and of learning. And we, most of the things we do in our life, we understand. We understand them. At a certain level, we do understand them. For example, the laws of Mishpatim, which are rational laws, do not kill. We understand. You can tell a little kid, or a 2-year-old kid, you cannot kill. It's not right, and he won't question you. He won't even tell you why not, because it's understandable. Helping a poor person, giving charity, giving tzedakah. Someone is in need, you extend your hand, you give. You don't question it. It's justice, it's tzedakah. It's something that comes from your intellect and your emotions. Both of them are connected to the mitzvah. So the bitter herbs in a Seder plate, we don't question these bitter herbs. We eat them year after year after year after year. People who don't keep any mitzvahs in the Torah, they don't keep kosher, they don't keep Shabbat, and it comes to Seder, a table, to a Pesach Seder, and they don't question the matzah, they don't question the herbs. Why? Because it is something that is relevant to them. It's something they can understand. They're emphasizing with the pain of their ancestors, with the bitterness. They're trying to feel what it feels to be a slave. We're connecting to that reality. So we can come and be grateful to Hashem for letting us go out of Egypt and allowing us to have a free Seder in the year 2017. But a hukim, a hawk, it comes from a total different category, and it cannot connect intellectually or emotionally. You cannot feel for it. Like if Hashem tells you, you cannot wear wool and linen together, and you check your clothes before you wear it, you take it to a special person that is going to check, especially the men's suits, because they're lined with the linen, you don't question it. And when you're wearing the jacket, you're not emotionally attached to the mitzvah. And what this means is that just participating in the knowledge that who knows why, this is what Hashem wants, it's a very different way of serving God. Like when we need to understand why we do the things we do, then we're doing it because of us. We're doing it because our ego is involved, our emotions. It's about us. I keep Shabbat because, you know what? It's beautiful. I go to shul, I see my friends, I schmooze, I eat delicious food, I'm with my family, I get to get a nap, I get to read nice stuff. Yeah, delicious. It's about you. But if Shabbat would be a supra-rational commandment and you wouldn't enjoy all these benefits and you wouldn't understand the preciousness of Shabbat, but anyways you have to do it, then you would have a problem doing it. And this is what Hashem wants. And He wants us to do it because He wants us to do it. Not because it gives us pleasure, not because it makes us feel good, not because we love it. He doesn't want us to do it because of that reason. He wants us to do it because this is what He wants us to do. So this is what Hashem wants. Anyways, it is very hard to put in the same enthusiasm when we give tzedakah, and this is the surprising thing. Rather than to try to convince us to observe the hukim, the supra-rational mitzvot, with the same enthusiasm as we keep the rational and the traditional mitzvot, the Hasidut teaches us a different way of looking at it. He flips it around, and it tells us, don't observe hukim as you would observe Eidot and Mishpatim. Turn it around, flip it around. Rather, observe Eidot and Mishpatim, the traditional and the rational laws, as though they were hukim. Don't keep them because they make you feel good. Don't keep them because they make you happy. Keep them because this is what Hashem wants from you. So if one day you're 80 years old and you don't have your family with you, and you're alone in your house, you keep Shabbat anyways, because this is what Hashem wants from you. Even if you're not having that delicious food, even if you're not going to shul, you keep it because this is what Hashem wants from you. So God says to us, don't measure the commandments. We don't know which ones are more fruitful than the other ones. We don't know which one is going to give us a better reward than another mitzvah. Some people say, no, we have to keep the big mitzvahs. The little mitzvahs are not important, they're irrelevant. If I turn on a switch on Shabbat or I don't turn it on, Hashem doesn't care. It's a little mitzvah, it's a little thing, it's insignificant. Do you really think He cares? With all the problems in the world, with Syria and Venezuela and all this terrorism going around, does He really care if a little person like me turns on a switch on Shabbat? Is it really important to Him? Does it really count? So here we have a beautiful story, an analogy that really explains this to us. And it talks about a king who hired workers and brought them to his orchard. He did not tell them their wage so that they wouldn't forgo the cheaper task for more expensive ones. So he didn't tell them how much taking care of his orchard he would pay to each person by taking care of what, because he wanted all of them to put the same importance into whatever they were doing. So in the evening he called each one and asked, under which tree did you work today? And the first worker replied, under this one. And the king said, oh, this is the pepper plant. The wage for working, it is 1 gold coin. And he called the next worker, and it was a white flower. It pays half a coin, half a gold coin. He called the next worker and said, this is an olive tree. This is 200 sus. And the worker asked, shouldn't you have told us how much you were going to pay us depending which tree or plant we were going to take care of? And the king replied, if I had told you that, how would my orchard ever be created? So to God did not reveal the reward of His commandments, because it's a symphony in this world. Each one is needed in this world. Everything is super important here for the world to be able to sustain itself as it is. And if people would stop giving tzedakah because they think it's more important to honor their parents, or they would stop keeping Shabbat because it's more important to eat kasher, or whatever it is, then the whole system would just collapse, because it's like an orchard. Then we would only have olive trees, and what about the white flowers and the peppermint bush? So this is what this Torah portion and what the Rebbe says, that we have to take every lesson in the Torah as relevant to us today as it was 3,000 years ago, in the sense that it applies to us in this way. And we should just keep them because this is what Hashem wants us to do. And it's a golden opportunity. We have to understand that every mitzvah Hashem gives us is really a golden opportunity to be able to connect to Him and to be able to transcend our limitations, our intellectual and emotional limitations in this body, in this human body, and be able for our neshama to be able to connect to its essence, which is infinite, and it's the true life, which is Hashem. So I want to wish you a good week, a happy, healthy, sweet, sweet week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.